Hello, ladies and gents, and those goners in between. Today, we are back with another fishing fish yaps. Yeah, I said it right this time. Yapping while fishing.
More yapping, more
Um,
topics.
if you couldn't tell, today we're going to talk about some Deltarune. Very fun game. We love this game. Maybe a bit too
Very
much.
enjoyable.
We're very addicted to this game. But we're also like we have changed our avatars on purpose because we're gonna make this like a thing where the topic we talk about is our avatars will be based around that series and whatnot.
There'll be linked to it.
And eventually maybe we'll have like our avatars of some kind, like a little PNG tuber. You know what I'm saying.
Of sorts, maybe.
Of sorts. Since there's been a recent fish update that has added a bunch of bullshit that we need to go do, we're gonna be going
That
to do
bro needs to go do.
Yeah, that me needs to go do because this guy doesn't have a sleep schedule. I'm pretty sure he's been awake ever since yesterday doing this shit, bro.
Correct.
But yes, we are here to talk specifically about probably one of the biggest mysteries in Deltarune ever and the history of this game. Who the fuck is the Roaring Knight, right?
The Knight. Who are they? What are we thinking?
Well, I think obviously there's a lot of contenders. I think so. Let's break some of them down, right? We have
just like the standard ones that we have. We have Death Knight, we have Rudy Knight, we have Carol Knight. Those are like the standards. Like those are the ones that we like probably know about.
Yeah, but there's also some shit posts like Papyrus Knight, which admittedly has some evidence, but we're going to be talking about all of these today, and maybe even some more that we have found interesting. And maybe I can hate on Crystal Knight for 30 minutes because I fucking hate that theory and I want it to burn in hell.
He does not like that theory.
I don't hate the person who made it. I just hate the theory. It sucks. But we're not talking about that right now. We're going to talk about this December holiday. The only holiday that we haven't seen.
Girl herself.
She's assumedly lost inside the code. Or she is the Roaring Knight that's causing all of bad things to happen. Well, the roaring, which is the bad thing to happen.
Maybe. We don't even know if it's good or bad. We only have Ralsei to go off of, and he might not even be reliable.
And maybe Flowery, but I doubt Flowery's even that reliable either.
Sistingus.
But yeah, I need to get my head together and remember what was good about the Death Knight. Well, for one, she's not seen, she's lost. No one knows where she is. Her being the knight makes sense, right? In all known possible ways. And how the knight acts is very similar to how people have headcanoned how Death would be. But in reality, that's not necessarily the case. She could be quite a nice lady.
Don't know
she could be quite a nice girl, and she was just like a little rebel. She liked playing fucking baseball or something. I don't know, or playing guitar and shit.
Chris, but I remember when Death used to.
Don't finish that sentence.
I'm not finishing.
If you're monetized, I would. It's not here, bro.
That's not.
You can't make those jokes if we get monetized.
Something amino.
But yeah, other than that, the sword that she holds is a bat. Looks like a bat at one point. Which
looks like a bat when we first see it.
We'll get to the cons of Death Knight in just a second, but another part is I think that's mostly it for Death Knight.
The design also has like design, like the antlers.
Yeah, mostly the antler design, which it would be really obvious, a bit too obvious.
Yeah.
Also, at the same time, I wouldn't hate it. So let's
It
talk
feels
about...
a bit obvious for Tricky Tony to make it just, yeah, this is Des, smiley face.
I know, but I don't think anyone... The thing is, we're still just talking about community ration. I don't think anyone would hate if Des was the knight. And I don't
Nobody
think
would hate
anyone...
it, but it wouldn't be like...
There'd
Wouldn't
be a
the
few...
biggest sort of reveal.
There'd be a few... Probably, like, severe Rudy Caronitis that would get pissed off, but let's be real, they're annoying as shit. So, let's talk about the massive elephant in the room, and that's the unused hex. The unused hex, right?
Yeah, the stuff that's in
that
the
is the
code.
most Des-coded unused hex ever. Because, obviously, Des has been missing for, who knows how long, and is severely... And Asgore, doing his vague posting, seems to refer to a day. The day where he got fired. Which, I don't remember what the dialogue on the chalkboard said, but I think it was to do with Des' disappearance, or it was just something like Asgore got fired for this thing, and it was to do with the shelter. And it was to do with the Dark World, which we know now from Chapter 5 is the truth.
Yeah.
So it's possible that's when Des disappeared, and that's when she became in the unused text, which is basically in the code, which is also basically in the depths, which is also basically in the shelter. Which is the biggest...
By the way, the sturgeons like phantom leeches. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, shit, okay. But yeah, aside from that, do I have any phantom leeches? I do. But that is the biggest problem with Death Knight, me personally, is the unused text being very obviously there and not obviously, which is obviously Death, and that would make Death not be the Knight. But also people have said, like, it could be internal dialogue, it could be, because I mean, she can't really hear anything, it could be just, like, mostly internal speaking, and, like, the body of Death.
What if the Knight is a Gunner version instead? So, like, we have the actual version, but then we have the leftover vessel.
Yeah, that's what people have been saying, basically. They've been saying Death's body is the one that is the Knight, and the soul is lost in the Dark World. So... But I do feel like that's a little bit of a cop-out. Because there is no evidence against or for it, which is most of the problem with like Knight candidates is neither of them really work, but they also don't work. They also do work, so it's like there's a lot of clashing.
Everything to do with the Knight is still a giant mystery right now,
and it's not likely we will learn it in Chapter 6, which is like the big mystery reveal chapter, which will reveal one thing according to
the mystery man / woman / knight / I don't fucking know.
It's definitely not Gaster. We'll say that here. He is the depths of the...
Gaster is not the Knight.
7. And we probably won't even see him in Chapter 7. Holy shit. You see my fish I just got?
What did you just get, bro?
Shiny, sparkly, big season ticket Leviabass.
Bro.
So yeah, in conclusion, Death Knight, I give on the 10er T rank scale, I'll give it a S rank, pretty solid. I think it's pretty decent if it was true, and I wouldn't mind if it was. I wouldn't mind if we get the reveal of Death being a Knight, or whatever happened to Death leads to the Knight's existence, something like that. Anything else you want to add? Anything else? Because I feel like I forgot something.
Not really in particular to this theory, it's one of the most fleshed out that we have in the community, so it's not all that. There's not much else to say about it, considering how much it's already talked about like, Death Knight, it's like...
So, yeah, so... Let's move on to the second most likely, Carol Knight. Now, Carol Knight, a lot of people immediately in Chapter 3 and 4 were instantly like, okay, Carol's gotta be a hoax. She feels a little too obvious. But like...
You are welcome here anytime.
But ever since Chapter 5, I think I've seen specifically Spooky Dude, he made a whole fucking theory on how Carol was a Knight. I watched it, I don't remember most of it, but a lot of it is like, it doesn't make sense, and even if it's obvious, it wouldn't really do anything to harm the story. And
Yeah.
Deltarune isn't this mystery spooky gaster friend inside me thing that we all think it is because we've been theorizing it for over 10 for almost a decade now at this point. It is really supposed to be a digestible story. So if Carol is the knight, to everyone else, it makes sense. She was like this evil character. Her first introduction, she was quite hostile to Susie, so that would obviously make sense why Carol is the knight. And also,
I mean, it would also be pretty obvious why she was hostile, touching the fucking dead child's guitar.
Yeah, but even then, at the same time, they can have similar like, even if Carol was, even if that didn't happen, Carol would still probably be hostile to Susie in a way because of how much of a and then there's like
you got
the
that
motives.
surgeon, bro.
Amazing. All right. Then there's the motives of Carol Knight, right? So, I think there was more of an explanation in that Spooky Dude video. But I think it's not just like trying to find death as well, but it's already a perfectly fine like reason to be the Roaring Knight for Carol. But I also think it's something to do with like keeping order in hometown, something along those lines. I don't know if anyone's to correct me in the comments if they've also watched that video. I don't know how many views this is gonna get, but one of these probably will get pretty popular. That's what we're hoping for. We're just gonna we just want to be some guys, and you know, if we get popular, that's great. But like, we also just want to have like a little community. I'm getting us off track here. Yeah. Carol obviously wants a lot of order. Why did I spoil my boat again? I'm stupid.
What is he doing?
Carol wants a lot of order in hometown. Hometown's quite secluded with police tape, and Carol is quite close to the police. In fact, probably doing their job better than the police half the time, considering the bandits are only caught because of her. But yeah. Oh, and also speaking of, oh yeah, I just remember the big ass katana, the very obvious knight sword, definitely.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
She'd even don't even worry about that. I don't know why the fuck she'd even have that if she's not the knight, or if she doesn't have something suspicious going on. She obviously does. I mean, with Chris as well, they have an alliance with Chris, which makes them be the Roaring Knight. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I missed anything? Okay, I think we'll move on to like what the cons of Carol Knight, and a lot of it is. Most of the cons to me are just like, well, how the Roaring Knight acts. Now I remember. Okay, how the Roaring Knight acts is quite, I'd say quite a little bit childish, but more on the teen side. That's why people are assuming that they are Des.
Like,
Des is quite a rebellious teen. It's quite arrogant, and Carol isn't necessarily arrogant.
Carol feels more methodic.
She's more focused, and obviously she's like so much more strict and rigid with her. Well, quite literally, she's like fucking freezing. She has an aura about her for
like she feels more calculated, more like by the book sort of character, not the sort of arrogant.
She wouldn't be aura farming on some teenagers. Is what we're trying to say here.
Yeah,
it's like a little bit weird to me. But even still, I'm not gonna hate on her for aura farming on some teenagers. I mean, I would too if I was the knight, to be fair.
I mean, if I were the knight,
I'm the Roaring Knight. Did anyone consider that?
Toby Fox is the Roaring Knight. This is the correct theory.
I think that, was there any other reasons? I can't remember now. It's really annoying me, but I feel like, excuse me. I feel like I should remember. But I don't. Aside, it's just like how she acts doesn't reflect with the Roaring Knight. I think some people had
doesn't really line up with how the Roaring Knight acts. Is the main thing.
And also, oh yeah, now I remember the plot holes that happen in chapter 4. If the knight opened the dark fountain, then how the fuck is Carol in the house scolding Noelle while the knight is literally opened the fountain in the
Yeah,
church?
don't worry about the fucking toilet theory.
Yeah, but that is like, again though, it's kind of one of those things where it's just like it's a little bit awful. So I'm kind of wait. Do I need to put on my?
Yeah, that's more of just like a shit post more than anything.
And even then, it's still kind of. It doesn't really align with what I
Yeah.
feel like we're trying to go for here. It's just a little bit of a cop out if everybody made it, I think. And also, the chapter 2 Dark Fountain was made by the Knight, which has specific memories of Noelle and Death and Noelle specifically. Death saying specifically that Noelle will take her to this place exactly. So that's another big thing, a big like Death Knight creation, but like
yeah.
And I don't think Carol would have been listening into their conversations. I feel like she would have been doing adult stuff somewhere with the other adults.
Well,
so yeah, that's mostly the issues with Carol. I think that's everything about Carol Knight.
And we have Rudy Knight.
No, I think we can. Yeah, we can quickly go over Rudy Knight before we do the other few that I want to talk about. So Rudy Knight has been a bit more popular recently, like ever since a bit before Chapter 5 released. And I think I honestly really like this theory for a bit. I thought it could be interesting. The fact that the knight looks quite sickly when they're doing a little fucking hunched over pose, which could link to Rudy's disease or Rudy's condition.
Whatever he is afflicted with.
And I mean, it also makes sense for him to be super tuckered out, like for most of the entirety of the game, because they've been being the knight, and being the knight, and
he's been doing shit.
He's been doing a bunch of fucking shit. Yeah. There's also some dialogue if you haven't interacted. I think if you haven't interacted with Noelle and Rudy in Chapter 2. Rudy is a lot more hostile to Susie. Well, not hostile, it's more like passive aggressive in kind of a way. Also, I got the diamond here.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a bit more passive aggressive in his tone. So I feel like him and Roy Knight, that would make sense because Susie would directly oppose to him and the rest of the gang. I think other than that, yeah, the attitude of the Roy Knight lines up because Rudy's quite a laughable, funny guy. The laughing in Chapter 4 makes sense. Maybe it's because he's like laughing at himself, like, yeah, if you guys get into the light world, you could stop me easily, but he's kind of laughing at that.
Oh boy, here I go killing again.
Because I'm gonna summon a fucking titan on these teenagers. But yeah, so yeah, I do think a lot of it does line up a lot, but there's also a lot of issues with it, which I've started to realize. First of all, the bedridden thing, yeah, he is quite, in fact, bedridden. I don't think it's actually possible for him to be the knight that way. And also in Chapter 5...
Yeah, he is...
It's basically deconfirmed.
Well.
He's, fallen down, quote-unquote, which, if you know anything about Undertale and what happened to those fallen down monsters there, bad time, that's all I'm saying. Chapter 6, he's gonna be fucking dead. He's gonna die. Oh, I got seasonal lens. Yay.
You can make the fucking Cephalophores here.
What the hell? Let's go there. Hold on, I gotta like go there manually, bro.
I got my mirror set up here, man.
But yeah, Chapter 5 basically almost deconfirmed Rudy Knight to me. I I mean, the knights still appears at the end, and in fact, they do seem quite weaker than they usually are. But at the same time, I
And
just
Rudy earlier in the day did fall.
But again, I think he's being checked on in the hospital by Noel. In fact, Noel should be there, and as well as Carol probably. Like, Rudy shouldn't just disappear all of a sudden and just go into the fucking flower shop of all things. So I feel like people would realize what's going on. So
Your dad's best friend.
So yeah, no, I don't think it's possible anymore. As much as I'd like it to be, I think it'd be interesting. I don't think it's possible anymore. So I think that's all I wanted to say. I don't know if you want to say anything again.
No, I think we went over most of what made Rudy Knight a good and a bad thing, like how it isn't possible and what it sort of does.
Yeah, okay, so I think this next one is probably the most the most has a lot of evidence that lines up, and I think it's the most likely, and I think it's Azrael Knight. Now, I personally, this theory to me, I just don't like it. I've talked about I've talked about my frustrations with it. Like, I just think, sure, Deltarune's a parallel story to Undertale, but like, did it need to be this much of a parallel?
Does the big bad need to be the same person?
The Undertale characters aren't necessarily doing what they are in Undertale. Like, they have different motivations for their things. I don't know if Azrael Knight would be nice, but let's talk about it now. Let's see what Azrael Knight has. So, Azrael, he's a college. So, no one's got an MIA on him. And the internet's down, so no one can actually contact him. Therefore, that could be make him the knight. And again, we go back to in chapter 2, we go back to that thing where Des was talking about, Des wanted to take her to this Cyber City world place. Azrael could have been there on that conversation, as well as Chris. Like, they wouldn't have been out of that conversation. It's likely that they would have been there to hear it and to understand what they were going for when creating the fountain with their will. So,
and like also, a lightner's body translates to things that they would want to have, not what they are exactly. So like, the antlers on the knight could be just his thought of like, if I were more like Des, I could have been stronger, I could have been better.
Yeah, because it's very obvious that Azrael and Des had some kind of thing going on, and I feel like Azrael had especially looked up to Des as like freedom in a way. I don't know. We know Chris did a lot, definitely, with how they act with the knight. But I also feel like Azrael could be inspired in his own way. It's almost like you could still be quite old and be the same age to be inspired to be like as free as someone else. But also really big smoking guns about Azrael Knight. Like the biggest obvious shit is like Chris and the Knight working together makes sense. They're brothers. They wouldn't want to hurt each other.
Yeah.
I don't. We'll get back to what other thing that happens in chapter 3. I'm going to talk about in the cons part, the bad part about the Roaring Knight, because there's a lot of really bad things about this Roaring Knight candidate. Other than that, they have the same. Chris and the Knights pose similarly, so Chris could have had inspiration from. Chris obviously feels like. They look up to their older brother, right? So they would want to copy them in some way. Because I know this is an older brother myself. I feel like a lot of
I mean, it's very common for like a younger sibling to look up to their older one more than even their like parents.
Yeah. because they're obviously in quite a similar situation. So yeah, and also the attacks in general from the Roaring Knight very similar to Azrael Dreamer's attacks in Undertale. The stars, the final attack very obviously mirroring
Hypergona.
the Hypergona. I think that's most of the.
You know, I think I have
evidence
like
in
a
general.
better way the Azrael Knight theory could work. What if it's not like Azrael directly? What if it's more like sort of a memory left? Because that's kind of what the black shards are.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely get to that because I wanted to talk about this. This is my personal belief on what the Knight actually is.
Molded memory of Des and Azrael.
So yeah, we'll get to that in a bit. But I think that's it for pros about Azrael Knight. So cons, these are really big ones. First of all, and a lot of people haven't realized this when they talk about Azrael Knight. Chapter 2, when Queen captures Chris, they have their search history on there, obviously. So, Chris is searched up specifically summer college vacation when or something like that. So Azrael already went to college before the internet went down. So it's not possible. It could be possible that Azrael suddenly became the Knight all of a sudden just after that, which would kind of be weird, but I guess.
But like, it wouldn't really make sense for Chris to be searching that up, really, though.
Yeah, if they weren't like worried about that look.
It seems more of a big deal than
And
like just.
So yeah, but it clearly knows they want to see them because they know they're at college and they're not trying to hide anything. I don't know, like, so then, because otherwise they'd probably hide it or something like that.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't. I guess you could say they wouldn't look up like whatever the Roaring Knight's doing, but even still, like, so then, like, that makes no sense for the Roaring Knight to even be at college in general. If there's a summer vacation happening soon and they're gonna come back, yeah, it just makes no sense to me. Also, what's the other one? Oh, I forgot to mention actually. There's another big evidence for Azrael Knight is this dialogue. I think it's from the Ribics. It's just like it says a lost girl and then a crying boy, which connects with the secret chapter 4 egg room area thing, which says like fallen star something.
The chapter 3 and 4 egg rooms are like. The chapter 3 and 4 egg rooms are like really big in the story, just generally.
I feel like we're gonna talk about the Forgotten Man at some point, and that'll be a different video. But
yeah,
that's another big thing for Azrael Knight. But again, I still think the fact that Chris searched him being a college before everything that the internet went down, which is arguably in a meta way when Gaster basically took over the Deltarune world, and
yeah,
the Knight wasn't assumedly making Dark Fountains before all of this, but I still think it would be weird for Azrael to just all of a sudden be back when they're clearly still at college.
Yeah.
And they very obviously have been. They haven't been mentioned as much as Des has been. Des has their own room. I mean, Azrael is a connected room with Chris, but it's not really as important as something like Des has been for most of the day.
Des's room being a giant focal point, but Azrael's side of our room, Chris's room, has not really had that much importance. Like, the only thing it's really had importance is when it's referring to Des as well, because, like, the love letter that was in chapter 4.
And that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to be an important character in this game, and I don't know why people want to think that he is, and really want to believe that he is, because I just feel like I also just hate it in general, because like, why would we have another Azrael as the second bid back? And it feels like lazy writing to me. If you just basically Toby Fox is kind of just reusing the same characters. Like, I feel like he could do something so much different with all the other Deltarune characters that are in Deltarune, but if they just use another Undertale character, then what's the point? There's no point in all that character development. I guess there is, but, like, if there's so much, like, hints towards the Roaring Knight being someone interesting, someone new, maybe, like, I feel like Asriel wouldn't be that, and maybe that's okay, you know, he doesn't have to be the Roaring Knight. I guess he can be interesting, though, is the connection to Des, but, I'm gonna use the telescope now.
Needs to go to the telescope. Okay, but I have, like, an extension on that, like, the memory theory, sort of. Like, so, the night being, like, sort of a fusion between, like, memories of, like, Asriel and Des being, like, the violent ones, the parts where they fight, the parts where they attack people. But then, like, say, like, Ralsei maybe is the other half of those memories, the part where he's kind, where he's, like, passionate.
Yeah, I do believe personally that Rousey is some kind of imaginary thread of Chris's, or some kind of depiction of what they want to be. That's especially been improved with the fact that the Shadow Crystals are stated to be lost dreams. So Rousey is a lost dream of Chris. But, like, that's a Shadow Crystal, but that doesn't have to be, like, Rousey could be something completely, like, even better, like, some more refined Shadow Crystal, the Pure Crystal even. They could just be a Pure Crystal kind of, like, combined, or, like, some kind of Black Shard made into the character of Rousey. Also, by the way, how the fuck do I get a battery? Because I don't have
you need to get battery packs from the Crystal Cove, not the Crystal Cove, the, place in Sunstone. You need more of them.
I need more of them? Where? How do I make it though, is it? Isn't that just like the battery casings?
No, you need the casings, then you need, an enchant relic and something else. I forgot what it was, but you need more battery casings.
Ah, for fuck's sake. Okay, so...
You've gone past it.
Yeah, for the most part... And that's what I wanted to say, I think. I was tracking myself here, but...
Yeah, on Asriel Knight, it doesn't feel like the best. Like,
it doesn't fit as well, even if there's, like, a lot of connections. It doesn't necessarily mean that those connections will be sound. You know, like what Patat said, which was basic. He and himself and all of the mics were literally this exact joke. We're reading a bit too much into things. We don't have all of the pieces to the puzzle, and we should stop believing that we do. We can't still figure out.
Yeah, we have like half the puzzle, and we're thinking we have the full thing.
So yeah, I think that's what he is for. Like I'd say those are like the main Roaring Knight candidates. So now I want to talk about I'd say my personal honorable mentions. Before I talk about what I think the Roaring Knight is. So we'll start up with Papyrus. Papyrus, okay, it's a funny one, right?
Papyrus
at the same time, Papyrus Knight has its merits in a way.
Yeah.
Papyrus has not appeared in Deltarune at all, although when Sans kept bringing him in, but he keeps bringing Papyrus up like they exist. This brother, I mean, it could be someone else. We don't even know. They're not even saying Papyrus.
It could be Pruncell.
It could be Pruncell, yeah. And when he says that, I think he says that tomorrow, as in, that was in chapter 2, so chapter 3, as in, yeah, we'll meet Papyrus tomorrow. Oh, hey, here's the night, by the way. So, is that Papyrus?
The roaring.
But also the motives will line up. Something of Papyrus wants to be like a popular person, and like it appears he's quite a shut-in, at least in a few of the chapters. Not the latest chapters. Like he seemed to have disappeared all of a sudden. Like I wrote to chapter 5, so I don't know what's happened there, but he could have that motive of wanting to be noticed, and so he's like almost been like possessed into being the Roaring Knight or coerced in some way to be the body. Maybe it's just like the vessel of the Roaring Knight or whatever the Roaring Knight even is. But other than that,
again, we still don't even know exactly if the Roaring Knight is even a Lightner or Darkner.
Well, they're clearly Enlightener because they could go between the Dark Worlds, outside in the Light World. So they have to be, otherwise what
But maybe that's just because of the armor. It's a casing of shadows.
Yeah, but even then, wouldn't it just fall like wouldn't it just be like a collapse on the floor if it was just Darkner? Just collapse onto the floor with a bunch of night armor parts. So you could say this like it's the Black Shard keep their ability to and powers outside of the Light World, so they're able to stay the same. But I do believe you with that. I do believe you because like the Roaring Knight is basically just a Black Shard armor casing thing. Like it's just entirely made out of Black Shards which persist in the Light World. So it could just be that, but. But again, though, Pirate Knight is like a myth, just a joke for most part. I don't really actually believe it. I mean, the body of the Roaring Knight does line up, to be fair. But that's really it, though.
Like, the body of the Roaring Knight lines up with, like, 7 different characters. That's the hard part about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but Pirate's like the lankiest one we've seen so far. It's just, but it's also they can also shapeshift. So, does it really matter what they look like?
They also look like a bird. Does that mean normal NPC is the knight?
I mean, they are, maybe.
Maybe.
But okay, I think that's enough sugarcoating. I want to talk about Crystal Knight. Now, this knight candidate has become super duper popular as of Chapter 5's Weird Route. Already a problem with that, by the way. Let's just get that out of the way. Weird Route. We want to talk about a route that isn't supposed to be in the canon route of the game, and now apparently they're also the Roaring Knight because of that. Like, okay, we're already reaching. But let me start. Let's talk about the evidence, right? So, Crystal Noel, spoilers for the Weird Route, by the way, if you can tell. It's been like over a month now. I feel like everyone knows. But Crystal Noel drowned in the fucking lake. Yeah. That's it. And if we look at Undertale, what happens with Azrael and Kara is Azrael absorbed Kara's human soul and becomes super duper powerful, aka Roaring Knight is super duper powerful, aka they must be the same. Chris' soul must have been absorbed, well, us, because we are the soul. We must have been absorbed by Noel, and now we can pilot Noel in Chapter 7 Side B as the Roaring Knight. First of all, it's, like, just even saying that, I sound like a maniac. But that's not the only problem, right? It's not the only evidence, okay? But, like, the Roaring Knight and Chris, they copy each other? Okay. Yeah. So, Chris could be a part of the Knight. But also it's in the Knight's flavor text. The Knight's flavor text shows, it sounds almost like that means round. Something like that. It's like vague as shit, but yeah, we can just ignore the fact that it's actually supposed to be for the attacks in themselves into the fight instead of, you know, actually being anything more than that. But hey, okay. Yeah, awesome. I think there was other evidence. I don't know, and I don't know if it's really that important at the moment for any of this, to be honest. Like,
I mean, like, we have no concrete answers anyway. Like, there's... Like, every theory is wrong until Tony decides.
Yeah, but we can still keep theorizing, which is a good problem.
Yeah, that's the great part about game.
The problem with Crystal Knight is that it's the most cop-out answer of every single one of them. It's basically just like, it's basically just putting a bunch of buzzwords together and just saying, yeah, that makes sense. No, it doesn't. No, it fucking doesn't. So, like, let's think about this logically, right? Why would the knight, the main protagonist of the game, be created in a route that is meant to be forbidden, but literally said in the game the forbidden path began with ice magic? And why would why would Toby Fox do something like that? Which is basically also like, if the Roaring Knight is Noelle and Chris, then it'd have to be some sort of weird time loop, which it just brings up 10 million more questions. Like, Chapter 5 also confirms that the Knight, well, not confirmed, but the Knight probably was making fountains before this. So how were they out of the other timeline and into the other timeline? And it just makes more problems than answers for it to be solved. It's more just the hype moments on Aura Theory that is just like, I guess it could be cool, but also like, is it really? Is it really that cool? Not to me. Sounds like dog shit. Oh, and also, a lot of people point to the fact that the amalgams can shapeshift. No, they fucking can't. They just look like that. They just look morphed, but they can't shapeshift like the Roaring Knight does. And the Roaring Knight has a very specific shape to it.
Amalgams don't shapeshift, they're literally just melting. They are liquid.
They're melting determinations. They can't do shapeshifting. That's not how they work. I feel like people forgot that. And that's the biggest problem with this theory. It's just like, they think it's an amalgamation, when no, it's not, because that's not what amalgamates do. So yeah, I think that's all the Roaring Knight candidates. Some are like smaller, but have been deconfirmed, like Alvin Knight. Those are the ones like Chapter 2. Or really all theories that don't really matter now.
Like Alphys Knight.
Oh, Alphys Knight. Yeah, I saw that one. I've got a few interesting questions to that one. I haven't even watched the video, but maybe I should have. I just felt it was so out there that I was like, you know what? Whatever. You know what? Sure, bro. Do what you want, man. I guess. Like, it's just...
Like, some theories are just better left.
Left behind. Some things are just best left forgotten, as the FNAF 4 box says. But I will say, if the Roaring Knight has a specific 25% red, 75% yellow combination, then I think we owe an apology to Alphys Knight.
I swear to God, if you predict the Roaring Knight,
I think we owe an apology to them. But alright.
You know what? If 25%, 75% something red, yellow, what if it is Frisk and Clover?
But yeah, okay. Now I want to talk about how I believe the Knight will be and or will be, well, quote unquote, revealed. I don't think Roaring Knight is anything realistically. I think it's a combination of these lost realms, these lost people, combination of Death, Pyrus, Asriel even. Like, all of these different characters combined into one, like, amorphous amalgamate type character. Like, I said before, the Knight isn't an amalgamate, but what the amalgamates do is they still have their own personality. So Death's
except
personality...
one of them doesn't have their own personality, and that's Memory Head.
Yeah, but that's just like that's
a conglomerate of memories that only wants you to join the fun.
Might be a friend, honestly.
Matt,
something unconscious that isn't really that smart. It's just kind of like a conglomerate of a concatenate, if you will, of things.
Friend is a Memory Head is the Knight theory. What are we?
But yeah, most of the amalgams do keep like a personality and stuff, so it's very possible that the Knight is like this combination of personalities combined into one like amorphous amalgam mess. That's just like,
because they seem to act different every time we see them is the thing.
Yeah, one thing in chapter 3, they're acting quite aggressive and stoic, straightforward. Then in chapter 4, all of a sudden, they're quite playful, laughing, they're aura farming. They're
Funny
just kind of
bones.
in around, being all silly and shit, making a fucking Titan like just there, straight up.
Then in chapter 5, they're not doing any of that. They're back to no nonsense.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're also weaker. They also seem a little bit less aware. It's almost like they're losing their grip on themselves. So, oh my god, you know what? This theory actually makes a lot of sense now. So maybe everyone is the Knight, but in a different way. Maybe.
It's like
so
trying
maybe
to describe a
chapter.
dog to someone who hasn't seen them.
Shut the fuck. But yeah, in a way, it is kind of like a still life kind of thing. It's like it's the memory of people who have been lost, or well, I wouldn't say Asriel lost, but I think Chris really misses Asriel a lot. So like even then, like you can say that, and they can still have a conscience while doing this. It's just they can still have this sort of conscience. I mean, Flowey has a conscience, and he has no soul. Would you say he's not a character in himself? Like we can still say that the characters with no souls have their own personality and feelings and beliefs and whatnot. So yeah, you could argue that chapter 3 Knight was the Carol personality, chapter 4 was the Des personality, and then chapter 5 was the Rudy personality, who was much weaker, much more unaware, and maybe, in fact, Rudy is already dead while chapter 5 is happening. So the memory of the Knight is quickly conglomerated into them. So now they're even more like weaker and a bit more out of touch because there's more of a hive mind in them now, controlling them. And obviously Noelle cares Rudy a lot, so like that already manifesting in itself just immediately makes a little bit can make sense. It can make sense.
Yeah.
And also, like, when you defeat the Knight as well, it's almost like a static, like, it has a static sound when it's like glitching about. It's like it's just unstable. They're unstable. Some like amalgamate.
It does feel sort of like a memory head then, because it's like it's just a conglomeration of different memories shoved together.
So maybe the Knight is an amalgamate, but in a different, more interesting and improved way, and it's been foreshadowed to us with all these different like amalgamates and whatnot. Also, one more thing. What was I gonna say? A lot of this theory is now reminding me of like FNAF, and more specifically the hive mind of Molten Freddy, basically, right? And or Ennard. They have a bunch of. They're basically a bunch of melted souls, completely conglomerated into one another, that has a bunch of different personalities. Like, the Funtimes themselves have remnant from the original animatronics, which is from the original Dead Kids, which is now combined into a massive gloop of meth of spaghetti, and like, now it looking like that is like almost a representation of how the mind... It's almost just like a mindless monster, and that's what we're trying to get with the Roaring Knight. Like, they have this type of... They have this personality, they have this, like, playful demeanor, but it's constantly fighting with itself, like, in its mind, and it's like... It's almost lost in its own way, like, there's just a lot of different personalities combined into the Roaring Knight to make it what it is. It can still... believe it can still have feelings of its own. It can still like talk. It can still make deals like with Chris, but like it's still completely unstable. And like Ennard for FNAF was still pretty smart, even though it was like a conglomeration of every single Funtime animatronic. Like there was still like they still had like a somewhat decent IQ level to make decisions of themselves, so it's definitely possible that the Knight just has made their own conscious from this.
Yeah.
And I think that's all we want to talk about today for this episode.
Probably a roundabout. I mean, pretty good to
Yeah.
end it off with our own theory as well.
Yeah, we'll just put our own theory out there, even if this channel is like not that popular at all. I just want some people to hear it, pick it out, hear us out. Maybe I'll make
To anyone who can hear it.
maybe I'll make my own a video on that on my own channel. But anyway, yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thank you everyone for watching. Like, subscribe, and
Thank you.
we hope to see you back here again. Maybe you'll sit for us a while, and we can talk. I was gonna be awful and like say like quote come old man consequences say come sit for us for a while, but now it makes no sense. So I'm just gonna say goodbye now. Bye. I'll figure it out later.